Hello and welcome back. In the last lesson we were comparing how the BBC and YouTube websites go about internal navigation, and in this lesson and the next we'll go about emulating each. In this lesson we'll emulate the way the BBC responded to links by reloading a new web page, and then in the next lesson we'll use a React router to do client-side navigation, and we'll emulate the YouTube links. So I'm just going to do a little bit of tidying up. First of all, I'm going to remove the banner and click button and strip the app back down now to something quite small. And I can get rid of these as well. Okay, and I'm going to start just by displaying a single value in the console window. I'm going to display window location.href. Now, if you recall, window is like a gateway into the DOM, which is all the functions and state variables being managed by the Chrome browser for managing the Windows display mainly. So this will tell us what's in the Chrome browser address bar, or any browser address bar for that matter. So let's have a quick look at this running. I'll just do npm run dev. Pop it up. If I bring up the developer tools, notice I've got preserve log switched on here. I can sort of hide that now. And we can see that what's in the address bar is now being printed out. And if I reload the page, I'm getting a message this navigated to is being printed by Chrome itself. But we're printing out the address again. If I now go to /profile, for instance, and I hit enter, we're going to reload the page. So this message is coming from Chrome, navigated to here. It's gone off to Vite. It's completely reloaded the entire web page, and now it's displaying this, what's in the address bar again. So we can make use of this variable. I can do something like test whether it includes a string. So let me show you. I can say window location href includes profile. That's true or false. So I can say const page equals, and then I can test this, and I can put a value here if it's true and another value here if it's false. So I'm going to say if it includes profile, I'm going to set page equal to this string profile, and if it's not true, I'm going to set page equal to this string home. So essentially page will now indicate whether we're at the home page or the profile page. And I am going to create a couple of new components, and one is going to be called home. Like this, and another is going to be called profile, like this. And I'm going to only display them if we're on the correct page. So here, I'm going to put some JavaScript around here and say page equals home. And so we've talked about lazy evaluation before. If this evaluates to true, it'll continue the evaluation and it'll evaluate this. And similarly, I can do the same with, I can copy this in to the profile. Say if it's equal to profile, then display the profile page. So all that's left for me to do is to actually build those pages. So I'll create a folder called pages. I'll create home.tsx. And in here, I'll use RAFCE, which we have the React extension for this thing here, ES7 plus React, that extension. So if I type RAFCE and hit tab, it will build out that component for me. And similarly, I create a new file, profile.tsx, RAFCE, and hit tab to build that for me. And now all I need to do is to import them. And here you see this little yellow light bulb. I'll say add import. I'll do the same here, add import. And that should work. So if I now pop up the page, if I'm at the home page, up in the address bar, I see home. And if I type profile and hit enter, I see profile. So the next thing I want to do is to build a header component which contains some buttons where the user just presses home and profile and routes to the correct page. So let's go and do that. So I'll put a header here, and then I'll write a header component. So I'll say new file, header.tsx in my components folder. And again, RAFCE will build me a header component. So let's just get rid of that line. And if I import it here, add import, let's just see what that looks like temporarily. So I've now got a header on top and home, and if I go to profile, it's got a header and profile, so that's nice. And then the header is going to contain a couple of buttons. So before I go any further in this header, I'd like to change div to what's called a semantic tag. It just sort of explains what sort of div it is. So I'll type header, which is a standard HTML for, well, a header. Notice that on the other side, div didn't change. So I can fix that if I go into the settings and type linked editing. I can switch that on. And then if I now change div to header, you see it's changing the closing tag at the same time. And instead of writing header, I'm going to put a couple of buttons in here. The first one is going to say home, and the second one is going to say profile. Let's have a quick look at that running. So we can see now I've got a home button and a profile button. Don't worry about the appearance, we'll sort all that out a little bit later. And both buttons are going to have an on-click handler. On-click equals, and then that's going to be an arrow function that does something. And I'll put that into the other button as well. So now both of them have got an on-click handler. I just need to do something. And amazingly, all I actually have to do is set the value of window location xref to where I want the browser to navigate to. So I can literally say window.location.href equals, and then the path I want in here. So let me just paste something like this, and I'll copy this down here and add /profile. And what this does is when we execute window.location.href equals, and then we supply it with a path, the DOM will understand that we want to abandon the current web page and we want to go off to a web server and to load this web page instead, and it will do just that. So let's just see that working in action. If I click on home, we see home page. If I hit on profile, it's producing a profile page. So this is our navigation. I'm just going to tidy things up a bit since this is particularly ugly. I'll start with the app. So in the app, I'm going to create a little section around the two pages. And we've seen this before. This is saying I want to take up all of the space available, and then it's saying I'm a flex box myself, and so everything underneath will be displayed as flex items. And then the header, I'm going to change the coloring of the items. So the buttons, let's go to the header. I'm going to change the header color like this. And I'm going to change the buttons so they have a little margin inside them like this. And this. And then for the home page over here, I'm just going to, again, put a little bit of colouring in, make it slightly more attractive. And I'll put some colouring in on the profile page as well. Just copying it. Here we are. There. So that should look a little bit nicer. May not be to everybody's taste, but when I click on home and profile now, you can see the important thing is the home page is completely filling the remainder of the screen, and as is the profile page. We'll revert to the more standard Shadsian colours a little later, but for now this sort of shows you what's going on. So with that, I'm going to close the lesson here, and in the next lesson we'll change this to something more React Router-ish. So I will see you there.